Can you hear me? I was in a whole other room.
I know you were. Robyn, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Elle, you straight?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Hi, everybody. I'm Karama Horne, aka the Blurred Girl. Welcome. Welcome to the, what everybody's calling the NUBIA panel, but the panel is actually NUBIA's Back, the DC storytellers who reintroduced Wonder Woman's sister. So what I am doing today is speaking with the creative team of McKinney, Robyn Smith, and Alitha Martinez about basically one of the oldest Black characters in DC Comics. And we're going to basically see what's been going on with her because she's back. And a lot of people don't realize that. So before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, the Virtuous Con sponsors, DC Comics. Thank you so much. Also, thank you for publishing NUBIA. Subsume Media, got to give them a shout out. And a new sponsor, Urbanime. Please, on the vendor level and also in the room outside of this one, when you get back in the hallway, I love this con, please click on their links to show them the support that they have shown the convention. Now, first up, so this is the embarrassing part where they sit here and I read their bios. I love it. LL McKinney is an advocate for equality and inclusion in publishing and the creator of the hashtag What Women of Color Writers Here and Publishing Paid Me. Elle is also a gamer, a blurred, and an adamant hey stan in living in Kansas. Her works include the Nightmareverse books, starting with the Blade So Black trilogy, the upcoming, it's out, Marvel's Black Widow Bad Blood, over on Serial Box, and obviously, NUBIA Future State and NUBIA Real One, which is out next week. Everybody has to pre-order. Next up, we have award-winning artist Alitha Martinez. She's the Eisner and GLAAD Award-winning artist of Black Panther: World of Wakanda. Her professional career began in 1999, penciling Iron Man for Marvel, making her the first Afro-Latina woman to ever draw for the company. I will say that again. Alitha Martinez is the first Afro-Latina woman to ever draw for Marvel in 1999. Since then, she's worked on some amazing titles like X-Men, Black Sun, Marvel Age Fantastic Four, Moon Girl, Miles Morales Spider-Man, Batgirl, Omni for Humanoids. I don't have enough time to read everything that Alitha's done. Her most rewarding job has been traveling the world as part of the U.S. State Department's World Speaker Program to teach comic book workshops and bring the art of storytelling to people who would have no other way of getting such information. She has not been doing that in 2020 because of the parallelogram, but that is what's happening. Robyn Smith. Robyn Smith is a Jamaican cartoonist currently based in New York City. She is an MFA from the Center for Cartoon Studies and has worked in comics for the 7 Days newspaper, College Humor, and the Nib. She's best known for her mini comic, The Saddest, Angriest Black Girl in Town, and for illustrating Jamila Rouser's comic Wash Day. Jamila Rouser is on the floor this weekend. You must support her as well. Besides comics, she spends most of her time watching American sitcoms and holding on to dreams of returning home to the ocean. Don't we all? So what I want to first talk about is how NUBIA, the character of NUBIA, is Wonder Woman's sister. And she was first created, and I don't know if I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try sharing some images here. We'll see how well this works. We're gonna try it though. Basically, NUBIA's been around since about 1973 in various iterations. And it's not just me. I feel like she's been one of the most underused characters. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but let me see if I can share this really quick. Oh, that's us. Hey, if everybody can see my screen here, and please hit me up in the chat if you can see this. These are some of the older images of NUBIA when she came out in 1973, and then she was reiterated after Crisis on Infinite Earths. And she looked a little bit different then. There's a few other iterations of NUBIA. I'm not going to get into all of her backstory right now in the interest of time, but I do want to acknowledge the fact that she has had some very, very interesting origin stories. The earliest being that she was made of dark clay, and Wonder Woman was made of light clay, and but was equally as strong and as Themysciran. The center image there is actually from an alternate universe for DC Comics, Earth 23, where she was the only Wonder Woman. There's the other one that we had Black Superman and stuff too, but you know that didn't last very long. And then the version on the right, you can't tell me that artist wasn't channeling Nina Simone when he came up with that iteration of Nubia. But that is basically where we started. So I'm curious, what was your that didn't work. What was your reaction when you all, this is for all of you, found out that you were going to be working on Nubia? And we'll get into the different iterations of it in a minute.
Who talks first? I talk first.
You'll talk first, because then go ahead, Al, you go first.
I didn't believe it at first. Because I had originally pitched Young Justice, and so that's what we were talking about. So when I get the email back and they're like, hey, we want you to pitch us just Nubia, for a second I was like, really? Like, this is for real? Y'all not messing with me right now? Y'all really want like Nubia, only Nubia folks? Okay, yes, say less. So I was, after hollering about her for years, it was unreal. Like, I did and still do feel extremely blessed to be able to be part of this.
Yes. And there's a couple people in the chat. Dominic, you're not the only person who's never heard of Nubia. A lot of people haven't. A lot of people think, oh, this is just a Black version of Wonder Woman. Squash that. Literally, the first Nubia dropped in 1973, and y'all gonna recognize that. So she just hasn't had a full story yet, and that's why I'm so excited. Now, one of the reasons why I'm excited, and we gonna try this screen sharing thing again, people. We're gonna see what happens. One of the things that makes the character so fascinating to me is the fact that not only did she exist before, but we have not one, but two versions of the character out right now. So let me, I'm actually going to share again so you all can see. So right now there is Nubia Future State, which exists in the Immortal Wonder Woman run that's out right now. Of issue 1 was out in January. Issue 2 is, I believe, coming next week. If not,
it dropped.
It did drop. Okay, so it dropped this week.
It dropped this week. Yeah.
It dropped this week. So, and then also there's Nubia Real One, the graphic novel that is dropping on the 24th, which is next week. So I bet you a lot of y'all didn't know that Nubia was back twice. And that's what this panel is here to help explain. What I want to do is start with, Nubia Future State and this gorgeous, gorgeous artwork from LL McKinney. So I'm sorry, from Alitha Martinez. LL McKinney, please tell us about this story, because I think a lot more people know about Nubia Real One than they know about Nubia Future State. Tell us about this version, what you wanted to bring to the character for this new iteration of characters for DC.
Yeah, part of my screaming about Nubia has always been that I thought that, you know, she deserved to be back to who she was, her twin sister, Wonder Woman's twin sister. Because it's weird to say the phrase regular Amazon, because Amazons aren't regular. But when you go from being Diana's twin, like her equal in every way, to being just a regular Amazon, it's kind of a demotion, you know? So I wanted to bring her back to that. And in this story, she is Diana's twin. She is Hippolyta's daughter. And she is Wonder Woman. And that's the story that I wanted to highlight, where her powers could come from outside of, you know, the usual Greek pantheon. I wanted to show that there are other, you know, old pantheons that exist outside, you know, because you have Odin in them, and then you have Zeus and them or Jupiter or whatever. So I was
You
like,
said
yeah,
Zeus.
no.
You said Zeus and them. Zeus and them.
That's the ones that we always hear about. And that's, I really wanted to highlight that, no, that's not the end all be all of these types of stories. So I was really fortunate to be able to get an amazing artist like Alitha to work on this, because I've been a huge fan for a while. Like the panels I like threw was like the Black Panther artist, please, DC, please, like I'm in their emails begging. And so it was great. I'm kind of tongue-tied a little bit because being able to work with both of these amazing women has just been the highlight of my comic career.
Well, before I put those images up again, those gorgeous images that we just saw were drawn by Alitha E. Martinez. And you know me, Alitha, I'm always trying to give you your flowers. Tell me what it was like creating this character, and did you have parameters? Or was this, were you allowed to really bring your own style and concept to what she looked like for this?
Well, first I read the script and it excited me immediately. Ella, what a beautiful script. Why? Because this woman wasn't going to sit on the couch. She wasn't going to be deep in her feelings, trying to find herself somewhere. Yes. Or mesmerized by her own blackness, whatever. He was here immediately to do some damage. And I said, finally, because comics took a weird turn years ago. When I started, comics were dirty and gritty. The men were beautiful and they would fight, and the women were beautiful and harshly dressed, but they'd still stand on the sideline and they'd mostly fight. At least they were in there. And then everybody took to their couches and their beds to cry. I drew Wolverine crying. That I thought I'd never do that. He and I have danced many times, but then I get this script. I'm like, finally, we're here. I'm here. I'm going to draw this thing. And there were some parameters. First, I looked up Grail, and I said, oh no.
Oh no.
No. I am going to. She was easier for me to redesign her. I just made her like big and bulky because you are a god. You're not supposed to look like this half-starved supermodel. What? Stop it. And then I wanted Nubia to match her, so she's just power and grace and beauty and hair.
Yes. I just want this. Are you seeing this? I just need y'all to know this hair is everything to me.
That's hair that every one of us want. It's wild and beautiful, but tame, because it does what she wants it to do. That's another thing that you might not realize.
Which is a superpower. That's a superpower.
That's a superpower unto itself. Believe me. So we want to keep all that together, and then the fight scenes. Thank you for the fight, because I ran in there and I drew some. There was I'm sorry, it is over. But now I'm going to have to couch it. I can't have that.
It's so funny. I can't breathe right now.
I love fight scenes. I love writing fight scenes. Fight scenes are my favorite thing to write in prose. Like if you pick up any of my other books, you gonna find fight scenes. They in there with swords. They scrapping. People get hurt. So I like being able to draw them in comics has been amazing as well. And then seeing the fights and seeing like Nubia's throwing and
yes, I love that one. You don't understand how much I love that final fight scene. I love that whole second issue. It felt like anime to me.
No, I didn't put it in here. I didn't put it in here. So I just want to let y'all know. So if people are looking for those second issue images, I just went with the first one. I don't want to spoil nothing for nobody. But I would be remiss, and this is some of what we're talking about here, people. If you're trying to figure out what we're squeeing over, it is this. And I'm sorry that you guys are seeing this extra thing on the side here. I'm trying to make it present so you do not see that. But I just want to say all of the fight scenes and here we go. I want to show you what I can see. Big. These images are what I saw. This fight scene in the middle is what you guys were, the first one that I was referring to. But I also want to talk about this color when she goes to the club. This hair thing right here. Yo, where can I get this? Like, I would love to tie this up.
That's a lasso,
isn't it? Yes.
It's her lasso. I put it in her hair, you know. I figure
you put her lasso in her hair.
Yes, that'd be functional. And it's based off of a Roman hairstyle anyway. And I figured, you know, tie the lasso in her hair because she's got to, you know, have it somewhere. I wasn't certain how she transformed.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why we need Black women to draw all the things, because her lasso is in her hair. I love it. 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 Okay. So coming back, there we go. I know the audio jumps a little bit when I switch images, folks. So that's why if you hear a pause, I'm trying to give it to everybody. Yes, Jasmine, my mind is blown too. Yes, Letitia, the lasso in her hair reminds me of Pam Grier. You are absolutely right. But you know what? I'm about to go in my bedroom after this and find me a belt and work it out, because this is about to be the new panorama hairstyle. So if y'all see me on the Blur Girl Live next week with rope in my hair, you know it's because Alitha told me to do it. The other thing that I find fascinating also about this story is she's not a shrinking violet, but there's other people around her that are also magical and that also have powers, like her auntie. Tell us a little bit about her magical aunt, her fairy godmother, as it were.
Aunt Nancy is Anansi. Like, it's just like the iconography is there. It's been a month. It's not a spoiler anymore. Aunt Nancy is an iteration of Anansi, the god. And Aunt Nancy had a hand in Nubia's rearing, which is, you get that quote where, who figured out to raise the heathen, because they go back and forth. It's a loving relationship. This is her and her auntie. And I based a lot of her personality on my late grandmother. And I don't know, I tweeted about it, and I don't know how Alitha pulled the image of my like that I put the pictures next to each other. That looks like my grandmother. It's magical to me. Artists are source. I know that's probably not what the intention was, but when I saw it, it was like, how? Because I didn't say anything to anyone. How? And so seeing her and like just
this is auntie for who we're talking about. Nancy, this is auntie down here.
I remember giving the description. I was like, she needs to have that Angela Bassett presence, that Viola Davis presence when she walks into a room. And Alitha absolutely killed it. I love Aunt Nancy because when I write about a character description, I don't describe them. I give like a feeling for them or who they might resemble, like their essence when they move about. And then I let the artists do their thing, because that's not my job. They are the experts in this. I'm not here to dictate all of that. I want them to do, because everything that they're here to do, please go off and be the expert. So I'm just, I get hype about it. Like, you can kind of hear it in my voice. I'm trying not to scream.
When you saw, and I got to ask you, Alitha, when you saw that you were going to be drawing Aunt Nancy, what was your reaction to that?
Wait, are you asking an old war horse how they feel about another script? I told you. It excited me deeply and greatly. And just to be able to create. But what was more, what I did fangirl about a little bit was getting to work with Mark Morales, one of my favorite inkers. And I have never worked with him in these long years I've been drawing since they let the animals off the ark. You understand?
Oh, stop it.
It's true. It's true. They're going to look back on the cave paintings and it'll be me. They'll see myself. I will make sure to sign that stuff. But with this, I could see the pictures moving in my head. So I could see the characters. I could feel that energy. And they speak to me. Like, they don't know. I burn many days off the beginning of a deadline just allowing the pictures to speak. I don't start drawing immediately. So when she finally said, this is what I look like, after researching all of those different Roman hairstyles, I said, all of these Roman women had Black women hair. They must have, because how'd they get it so high in the front and all the braids in the back? It was so perfect. I'm like, stop yourselves. You're not doing that with thin hair. My hair won't do that unless I, let the perm go out of it, which when I'm laying cold in my grave, I will not let the perm go out of this. Someone come down and perm it, please. I won't have it. Can't have that. But for other people, I will draw the hell out of that hair. That hair I must draw. But yes, so I felt her. She spoke to me, and I'm sad she's gone too. You don't understand. This was like five projects ago.
And this is very strange to me also. Well, not strange, just sad, because for those of you who don't know, there's two. The first issue was last month, the second issue, and for those of you who didn't see it on shelves or were looking for the covers, she actually wasn't necessarily on the cover. It was Diana on the cover because there's two stories in each of these issues, and Nubia's name is on the front. So I would love this story to continue, but y'all got to go buy those comics so that we can maybe put some money behind getting this to continue. Yes, Christine, more of these collabs, more of this, all of it. Letitia, yes, that hair I must draw. I want to also talk about Nubia Real One, which is dropping next. Now, which came first? Which comic did you know that you were going to do first?
Real One was pitched years ago, so that one came first. And then last year, I get an email. They're like, "Hey, you did Nubia. Would you be interested in doing Nubia for this thing that we have happening in the comics?" And I'm like, "You mean like the main continuity comics?" Yes, I did. Say less, always say less. So that happened. It was sometime either late summer, early fall last year when I first got the email and we started talking and going over the story and everything, and explaining, this is the version of Nubia that I want to do. The sister, the same powers. She is Wonder Woman. Like, that is it. As they're explaining this future state thing to me as well as they can, because, you can't have spoilers going out if you don't know somebody's going to work on a project. So it's like trying to explain it in vague terms. But it was Nubia Real One, and then Future State came along, and I have been in Nubia heaven for 3 years now. So
yes, me too. Now, what I'm going to do really quick. Yes, Alana, I love those nails too. I've been trying to find a way to do those very nails that you see in the picture. Robyn, I would like to know what it was like finding out that you were going to be working on, not just a DC Comics project, but like one of the most anticipated characters, and you got to do a graphic novel. What did you think about that?
Well, it was kind of the same as Elle at first, where I was like, this isn't real. I don't believe that you're contacting me to draw this. Not only because it was DC, but I was, actually mostly because it was DC, but also because my style is so far from what I imagine DC comics usually look like. So at first I thought it was a prank. I was like, okay, so someone's just pulling my leg, I guess, whatever.
That's a very anyways. That's a mean prank.
In case.
That's a mean prank.
Who
are your friends?
I was like, this is an elaborate prank. I don't listen. I was like, someone's trying to get me, but it's okay because now the book is almost out, and part of me is still like, did I do this? I look at the pages. There's literally like one framed in the because my mirror is reflecting it. I'm like, okay, I need to remember that this is something that I worked on. And even when I tried out for the job, I was like, there's no way I'm going to get this. And then I did, that's as simply as I can put it. It was just really exciting, and getting to work on, I love coming of age stories. I love slice of life. I love YA. It's exactly what I would want to do. And then to be able to do it for DC Comics and for Nubia,
it's incredible. Great. It's incredible. Now, what I'm very curious, Elle, these two stories, DC Future State and the Immortal Wonder Woman, exists separately from Nubia Real One. They are, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. But she's still in both stories Diana's sister.
Yes. The graphic novels are their own thing, because you have, the Raven story and the Beast Boy story and Aqualad and all that. They're all over here. Whether or not they're connected, I don't know. I just know that they're separate from what's going on over here. But for me personally, and I've said it and I will say it again, if I am writing Nubia, she's going to be Diana's twin sister. She might look different because, you know, there are different versions of all the heroes. You got Adam West Batman and Michael Keaton Batman and Batfleck and all these. You have different versions of Batman, but he's still Batman, you know. And so it's going to be the same with Nubia for me. Like, she'll act differently depending on what universe she might be in. But if I'm writing her, she's going to be Diana's twin sister somehow, some way. I'll figure it out. I'll make it work. But yeah, so she has that going for her, but they are not connected continuity wise.
Okay. And just to set the room a little bit, everybody in the chat, welcome. Everybody who's in the room, welcome. We are talking about Nubia. There are various iterations of her that have been in the comics, but we are talking to the creators behind the current iterations. Nubia Future State, that was written by L.L. McKinney and drawn by Alitha Martinez, as well as Nubia Real One, which drops next week, the YA graphic novel that drops next week, written also by L.L. McKinney and was drawn by Robyn Smith. For those of you who want to ask some questions, see in the chat, see that little Q&A tab all the way to the right. Don't forget to put some questions in there, and I'm going to pretty soon stop and start asking some of those because we can't, this chat's going back by like the Matrix. I can't keep up. So please be sure to put your questions in Q&A, and we're going to be pulling from there to get our information. Okay. And for those of you who don't know, you can pre-order Nubia Real One at this convention. You got to go to the DC Comics sales booth, which is on the 3rd floor, not the 1st floor, the 3rd floor. Isn't that cool? We're in a virtual con, and we can go to the 3rd floor. We get to the 2nd building and the Dwayne McDuffie room. And this is what's so amazing about this convention. And a shout out to Cerise Rennie Murphy, the founder of this convention, because this is an amazing idea. But I'm very, very, I want to make sure that I get to questions a little bit later, but they're coming fast and furious in the chat, and I cannot keep up. So, Elle, we were just talking about the concept of Nubia Real One and how it's a little bit different. What I want to do, because I don't know if y'all peeped this, I'm going to put the image up one more time of Nubia Real One. I'm seeing 2 moms.
Yes.
It appears that Nubia has 2 mommies.
Yes, she does.
Which is so cool. Tell me, what was the thought process behind that? And I mean, look, I'm all for more queer representation in comics, but did you get that as a directive, or did you just come up with that on your own? That
was something that I decided to do because of the story that I told with her origin in this, in order to get her here in the real world. So it's just the influence of where she comes from. Of course, she has her mother's. Like, that's just the influence that she's had throughout her life. And I love them so much. They are like my OTP in this book. I know that we have other couples, but Amara and Danielle are my OTP. And they are so cute. They are loving to each other and to Nubia. They parent very differently, just because of, you know, 1, what it is they're trying to do, and 2, who they are, like their own backgrounds. And so it's just, I know that Robyn has been posting like art that she has. There's their wedding picture, which is so gorgeous. And then the cute little pictures of them, like,
well, I have more, and I have more also from the comic as a whole. First of all, this party.
So good. It's so good.
I'm trying to figure out how you managed to get the electric slide into a DC comic. I have questions.
I mean, the description was simple. I mean, Elle was like, you know, they're at a party. And I was like, well, if you're at a party and it's you and, I mean, a ton of other Black kids, you're probably going to do the electric slide, whether or not it's the candy. Like, you can electric slide to so many songs. I've tested this theory. So I remember like drawing it and actually like playing different songs and like doing the electric slide by myself, like in my room, like, okay. Yeah.
and shout out to people in the chat. Yes, Christina Lee, it's super dope the way this is set up. And Todd Stephen Burrows says, hi, I love the DC Nubia character, and I'm very proud of you, sisters. See, we're all very proud of you. And everybody is shouting also about the colors. So I've got to know, Robyn, did you color this or did you have a colorist?
So we had a colorist, but we kind of came up with the colors together. I definitely wanted like warmer, like pinks and yellows. I remember deciding on that with Elle and Sarah, our editor, right before like getting into the process with a colorist. There's just a softness of pink, but it can also like be, it's first of all, I think pink is like eye-catching, at least to me. I just love the color pink like a lot. And I think it worked really well for Nubia just because for me, it like conflating that with power and like who she is something I really wanted to do in like the book. So
now let's talk a little bit about the story. So she is younger. We see the braces. First of all, we see the gauntlets rather. I love the hair. I love all of the hair in both of these books. It's all hair goals. What I'm curious about is what she is fighting and what is she up against? Because it feels as if, and I've seen a preview, that it's a very timely comic. Even though Wonder Woman is in this universe, there's still some stuff that Nubia has to deal with. Let's talk about that.
So this actually stems from when I was doing work with my other books, because you write for kids, so you go on school visits. And at one of the visits, I'm just talking with these kids. We're like talking about geeky stuff that we like, you know, like Funko Pops and comics and video games and such. And one of these kids says, it's really interesting how you have these heroes that can, you know, avert natural disasters, like plug up volcanoes and turn back time and stuff. But none of them, and they, you know, they stop purse snatchers or whatnot, but none of them seem to be impacted by or care about stuff that's happening to the Black community. You don't see anything with these heroes dealing with that. It's like they don't care. And I sat for a second and I was like, you know what? You are absolutely right. You're very much right. So that's sitting in my head, you know, and then I get this chance to write a superhero. And you never know if you're like, again, Nubia Real One pitch happened years before Future State. So I had no idea if I would ever get a chance to do a superhero again. And so I was like, you know what? I'll do this. If this is the only book that I get to write, then I'm gonna give these kids that hero. So I had her, and you know, it was the perfect storm because it's a YA book and it's YA characters. So she's dealing with stuff that I have experience with as a Black woman who was a Black girl, that my friends and family have had to deal with, and then stuff that just these kids have to deal with. I didn't have to do school shooting drills. That's new for them, you know. So I wanted them to have a reflection in a hero that says, yes, there are heroes who know what you're going through and who understand it on a level that no one else could because they're part of your community. So that's where that story comes from, because I love telling stories about fantasy and science fiction and going on adventures, because it seems like entertainment has this obsession with Black pain. That's the story they love to put forward, right? But with Nubia, it was this, I was able to give it a different angle, specifically to answer that question from those kids. Because it's one thing to see, you know, your everyday struggle, and it's important that those stories are told, but to see a Black girl who embodies literal strength and stamina, which can be taken as viewed as this is your ability to take punishment. That's how strength is viewed in Black women. It's viewed as you're able to take these punches, thus you need to be on the front line, which is just no. So I wanted to have this strong girl who had to deal with these things, but then had, as you saw in those pictures, these people who love her and who support her and will protect her regardless of what strength the rest of the world thinks she has. She doesn't need her strength with her fans and family. That's the point. She'll use that when she needs to and when she wants to, but it's her strength is literally the people around her. You don't get to abuse her strength. So that's the story.
But I find that not just timely, but also fascinating. And it seems like also in Nubia Real One, we are, because she's a little younger, she's skewing a little younger. She has some life stuff that she has to deal with, and some of it's really heavy. But Robyn, the colors and how you drew her and the hair, it's realistic. It gives you a realistic storyline, but it's not so, like you said, the concept of Black pain and Black, that we always see in a lot of our images, the pinks and the lavenders and the blues and all the love that she gets at home, I think is what is needed right now. Just like what Alitha did, when she's like, there's a line, LL, that you had in Future State where someone, I'm not gonna give it away, sees her and they're like, "Oh, you're not the real Wonder Woman." And she was like, "You see anybody else here? Because I think I am." Next question. You know what I mean? And then proceeds to beat everybody down in the room, which I also love. I was here for that. But both Alitha and Robyn, I'm very curious, and this is gonna be tough for Elle to sit through. What was the process like working with Elle through these iterations? And did you ever go, "Wow, really? You're letting me do this?" Or was there something that you created that basically she was like, just run away with it and you just had a ball? So was there in terms of process with Elle as a writer? That's for both of you. Robyn, I'll make you go first.
Well, I feel like Elle didn't like let me run away with anything, because there was like no decision that I made that wasn't Elle's, It's almost like our brains were just in sync. Everything that like that read from her, I would just be like, "Oh wow, okay, I know exactly what I'm gonna draw," and then I would give it to her. She'd be like, "Great," because that's exactly what I wanted. And so in a way, it just, I don't know, I would love to work with Elle again. Like, I just had such a good time. And first of all, something that a lot of people have been saying is when they're reading the book, the characters feel like real people. And it's true. Like, even just reading the script alone, I'm glad that I could draw and help with that. But even just me at home reading the script by myself and just being like, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to read what's happening next," because I didn't get the whole thing at once. It's almost 200 pages, so it's me like waiting for the next 2 weeks to come so I can like read the next, like, what's gonna happen.
Yes.
But also exactly, and just getting a sense of who these characters are and then drawing them again. Like, I could tell how much Elle loves all of them, and it made me love them and then draw characters that I hope everyone would like love, because they're based on people I love and that Elle loves. I don't know. I feel like even just doing all these like panels together and interviews with Elle, it's just, I'm like, of course we would get like, of course the way that we work together was almost seamless, because we have such a similar attitude when it comes to like our work and our art and what we want people to like get from what we do. Especially like just protecting Nubia, and like I actually based Nubia on my like 17-year-old cousin, and I like spend so much of my time protecting her and like who she is, and getting to like draw her as Nubia. I don't know, just a whole lot of things. Well, I don't even know if I've answered your question.
No,
I'm just talking about how much I
you
love Elle.
Yeah, you did. Alitha, like, what is it like? First of all, just, you have so many years in this business, but it is, tell me how many times you've been able to work with a Black woman writer in comics.
It's really strange. I normally don't see or communicate with anybody else on the team. So it's more like an editor will say, "Hey, want to do this?" And I'll say, "Of course I want to do this." I never turn down a project.
It's called Rent. For those of you who are in the chat, that's called Rent.
Yes, it's called Rent. It is. I've long ago lost that luster of, "I'm drawing comics." It's like, rent is due. I'm sorry. I have a child to feed. Where is this? This great heart, this beats of people. I think people think it's all this wonderful, wonderful love and kumbaya. This is a business, and I'm a business woman. And I have to have that going. When people love it, I know you love it. I love it too. But ultimately, I have to treat it like what it is, or I will not eat. And I will not be able to bring it to other people and let other people experience it as well. Don't lie to the youth. Let them understand what you're here for.
Speak on it.
And I'm truly here to have someone, when I fall, somebody will pick my sword up, but they can't do it if I don't tell you the truth. And I feel that's what Elle did a lot of with this book. Like Robyn, next week in the driving snow, I'm going to go out to buy your book. I will go there because New York keeps snowing on us. And I will go there. If I have to get on a covered wagon, if I have to walk, I will go and find this book and I will purchase this book. I just don't buy them from Amazon. Amazon's a giant. I will walk to my comic book store in the driving snow to get this book.
Listen to me, all of y'all. Alitha Martinez, who is already doing so many different comics and has worked on another Nubia comic, is going to go outside in the snow and walk backwards uphill in the snow to go get this comic. So nobody in the chat
with an angry teenager.
Angry teenager. So none of you in the chat have any excuse as to why you should not be buying this book. Now, I'm going to go to the Q&A because we don't have that many. I only have a few more minutes left, and I want to make sure we get some of these questions in. Some of you, I might combine some of these in the interest of time. So Joseph Watkins says, is there a discussion for a Nubia TV series, movie, Netflix series, or HBO Max? First of all,
we don't know anything.
That's what I was saying. Like, I don't think they could say it. So here's the thing. I don't think they could say anything, even if they could. So I will tell you from a press perspective that I ain't heard nothing. But even if they did know, they couldn't say anything. But you know what would help? Because if y'all went out and bought this book, or these books. Christine, in addition to buying the comics because we must, what are other ways to help to make sure DC, etc., continues to recruit all Black women collabs on titles, writer, pencils, ink, or colors? Now, here's the thing. I'm going to start with Alitha with this question because I'm curious. Alitha, do you think we need all Black women collabs, or do you just think we need more Black women in general in the space of comic book creation?
We need more of everybody coming here because we all have this golden ticket given to us called comics and our love for it. I'm waiting for the day when I'm no longer known as this sort of person. I am an artist, and if you don't recognize that, you're easy to forget me.
Eisner Award-winning artist. I'm just going to put that out there.
Like, they judge me by the color of my skin. My grandmother's from Honduras. My father's from Curacao. She came here at 40 years old in a time of segregation in this country. She did not experience racism, but colorism in her country, to come here and not be allowed to drink out of the same water fountain. This woman became a nurse. She worked her whole life for her family. I dare not forget her because that's my strength. This is what we are. And you have to be present in this space. So you have to get up and walk into this space. Write those stories. Don't just write Black stories. Write everybody. I need you to write Wonder. I need you to write Superman. Yes. Do you understand what's missing? If you stay on one half and only do this, then you'll only be known for that. Spread out. And you realize there's other giants to take down too. So let's go giant killing, everybody, please.
Absolutely. Elle, do you have anything to add to that?
I'm ready to slay some giants. That's my new favorite phrase now. Let's go giant killing.
Well, you have swords, ergo thusly.
I have many swords.
Y'all can't see this, but Elle has the most amazing sword collection. I'm talking keyblades. I'm talking everything.
I got one next to me. I'm going to just pull down the flame of the West here.
See what I mean? Like, this is, she pulled that from next to her desk. She pulled that down from next to her desk. This is what's happening right now. What other characters and or arcs in any... Wait, I skipped one. Yes, what other characters and or arcs in any comic universe would you like to take on? This is for everyone. Doesn't matter who they are.
All of them. I mean, all of them.
I had everybody. I want them all, and I was down to 3. And I can't say any more, but soon I will look out on that battlefield and I will weep because there'll be no more lands to conquer. Oof. And then I'll start over.
Yes.
I really want to, like, very specifically want to do comics about Miss Martian. I love who she is in Young Justice. I love that she's like made her whole personality off of this like old sitcom, because I feel like when I first moved to the States, that's exactly what I did. And seeing her do this as like this alien, I mean, it's a little clunky as like the immigrant story or whatever, but just watching it when I had just moved here, I don't know, I just felt very connected to Miss Martian, and pushing that even further is something I would love to do. I love her so much.
No, absolutely. And I have goodness, we only have a couple minutes left. I'm trying to pick the best question. So, this is a quick one. Somebody has a child in the chat, and they're curious, how old is your child, sweetie? What is the recommended age for Future State? My middle grader geeked out over Alitha's art at the beginning of the panel. So can a middle grade is like 6th grade, 7th grade?
I don't see why not. I mean, it's a fight, and there's nothing that
nothing
wouldn't show up on a TV show.
It's like it's like an old school comic. You remember old Teen Titans before they got in their feelings and ended up on the TV. It's back in the day to, the ones I used to read. That's why I said, books is great. This is what I had when I came to this country. Yes.
So last question. This is a really good one. L, I know these categories are different, but what is it like returning to Nubia in a completely different context and age range? How did you as a writer maintain voice?
Well, for Nubia Real One, YA is my bread and butter. That's where I come from. That's what I do in the prose sector. For Nubia Future State, that one was just knowing the women around me, really. That's how I found Nubia's voice, was knowing myself, my sisters, my aunties, my friends, my cousins. So it's knowing everybody around me, but then knowing, the kids that I've talked to, and that are in my family, my nieces and nephews. So while the Future State one is something that everybody can read, like that one, I did that one for like this is my grown woman, Nubia. She's out here doing that. That's how I view it. Is they're both great, and they're both amazing in their own way, and they're both great together. But that's how I found the voice is younger is what I do, the YA voice. But then this one was just conversations that I see on Twitter just between Black women, and how we talk to each other and love on each other and can speak to each other in ways that people are like, are y'all really cool? It's like, yes, this is what happens. We talk about each other this way. That's just how Black people love on each other, period. We gonna talk about each other. So,
and I completely agree. I think this is amazing. I think the work that you both have done, or all have done rather, is absolutely amazing. I have up on the screen, just so everybody can see, I have the 2 comics that we were discussing this hour, Nubia Future State, which is out, issue 1. And just to be clear, Nubia Future State is part of Immortal Wonder Woman. So you have to look for the Immortal Wonder Woman comic, and the second part of the comic has Nubia's story. First one came out in January. The second one just dropped this week. Nubia Real One drops next week. You can pre-order it right now. Please pre-order it from your local comic book shop and online or whatever. Buy. Don't just pre-order 1. Pre-order 2 or 3, because you're gonna need some gifts this year for people in your life. So please pre-order Nubia Real One. Please support the creators. Please support this convention. There's a Virtuous Con donation button, and there's also buttons on all of the floors for our sponsors, DC Comics, Subsume, and Urbanime. Thank you so much. I'm Karama Horne, aka the Blurred Girl. You can find me, TheBlerGGURL, all over the interwebs. Alitha, L, and Robyn, please tell everybody where they can find you.
Everyone's waiting.
Okay,
you go
yeah,
first.
you go first, Alitha.
My name is Eric. My name is Ariat Storm online, www.ariatstorm.com, and Alitha E. Martinez on Facebook.
I'm llmckinney.com. You can get all my shenanigans for social media in the upper right-hand corner. Mostly it's Twitter. It's L on Words, and that's ELLE, like the magazine On Words.
You can find me at Robrosmo on all platforms. So it's ROBROSMO.
Got it. And anybody has any more questions, we're going to be down at the DC Comics booth. Thank you all so much. And thanks for supporting Virtuous Con.